Hello and a very warm welcome, viewers. You're watching Reset India with your host, Kriti Mishra. Our show focuses on all the key areas where resetting, revamping or restructuring is required to boosting India's economic growth. And today we'll analyze the rise of homegrown tech. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said it is time for tech solutions that are designed in India but deployed for the world. And the country is uniquely positioned to leap ahead in the information era. While the world is reeling under the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, India has seen tech investments crossing over $38 billion. And this speaks volumes about the potential of India, particularly when it comes to the technology sector. Government's policy decisions are aimed at liberalizing the tech industry. Government has also eased the compliance burden on the IT industry in various ways to engage with stakeholders in the tech industry to chart out future policy framework for India. And to discuss the way forward, I'm joined by Mr. Mayank. He's CEO and founder Koo, which is called, of course, as the Indian alternative of Twitter. Mr. Vishal, he is founder and CEO of GeoQI and Encore Gains. And Mr. R. Ramanan, Mission Director of the Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog. Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television, all of you. And before we commence our discussion, important insights for our viewers. So homegrown apps have captured 40% market share of TikTok since ban. Indian startup ecosystem witnessed launch of more than 55,000 startups, which raised over $60 billion in funding in the last 5 years and currently home to about 34 unicorns and 52 soonicorns or soon-to-be unicorns with the potential to become unicorns by the year 2022. Indian Space Research Organization and Location and Navigation Technology Solutions provider MapMyIndia announced an initiative to partner together to offer India's best and fully indigenous mapping portal and geospatial services. And let's get back to our guests. And Mayank, coming to you first. Koo app, an Indian alternative to Twitter. It is grabbing all the attention with many celebrities and politicians joining the platform. It rose to prominence after it stood second in Atmanirbhar Bharat app challenge that was organized by MyGov and Niti Aayog in collaboration. Tell me, how has been the traction? How are people responding to it?
Well, we've been overwhelmed with the response. There's a lot of people who've taken to the platform, and it's been faster than we had imagined it to be. We've grown between 15 to 20x on the app side. We've grown about 60x on the website. Lots of people joining the app, the celebrities, the Bollywood stars, the cricketers, the people from the government, the people from the administration, from the armed forces, actually all walks of life. So, I think they're enjoying connecting with each other in their native language and, finding a very wide variety of people across all sections on the app. And I think that's what's making it very interesting and sticky. The response has been great.
But Mayank, how do you allay the security and privacy concerns around Koo app?
Well, actually, there aren't any concerns around the Koo app. Whatever little chatter that had happened was around people being able to see their own profile details. Users are given the option to share certain profile details, and that's been made so that the other users can see those details. So I just call it the profile page. And Koo app is fairly secure. There have been various attempts for people that have tried to hack it that we are aware of, and it's been extremely difficult for them. Security is also an ongoing subject. It's a thing. It's a journey. It's not a destination. You have to keep learning about various new technologies that hackers are learning to break into your system, and you have to keep abreast with that. We take security very, very seriously. We have some of the best ethical hackers in the country working with us as we speak, and the users can rest assured that their information their data isn't as safe hands as it could have been in.
All right, so Mayank there assuaging all the concerns and expanding the scope of debate. Vishal, India is a big market. We have best of the minds. But how do we invest more in R&D to actually realize the potential of India's IT prowess for Atmanirbhar Bharat?
See, I think one of the challenge which has happened in India is like unlike let's say telecom or let's take media space or let's even take a space of mining where there are set rules, regulations, and companies are working with the government, generating jobs here, creating intellectual property in India. What has happened in the tech space is that we have most of the foreign companies like Google, Twitter, Facebook, who are basically coming to India and mining all our data. Right now, when WhatsApp, for example, was sold for $17 billion to Facebook, they didn't have a dollar in revenue. So what did Facebook value that? The value was the bulk of the data of the Indian users. So I think what has happened is, and I think the good news now is that the government has realized that the resource in the future is data. It's all about our country and how our entrepreneurs and our technology companies can create this. And the ecosystem, which, again, Niti Aayog created and PM Modi created, Startup India, which happened a few years back, and continuing with them, the Atal Innovation Challenge. I think these are all the steps in the right direction. And I'm so happy to see Koo, a product coming out of that, right? Normally, they would have not got this kind of coverage because they would have just been a smaller app trying to compete with billions of dollars coming from Silicon Valley and China, which has created its own Great Wall to protect their own internet and create their own unicorn. So I think right now, one of the good signs is that there is a debate going on indigenous technology and prevention of data theft and unknowingly a lot of data which is going out of India.
All right, the latest development that I'd like to talk about, Mr. Ramanan, is government's big push to Digital India, deregulating the mapping policy in production and acquisition of geospatial data. What would it mean for our tech industry?
Thank you, Kriti. I think first and foremost, the government has been doing a lot to push digital transformations in India across the nation. And this has all started bearing fruit. We have talked about, we have today over 1 billion Jan Dhan accounts, bank accounts. We have over 1 billion mobile phones which are penetrated into the market. We have 1 billion Aadhaar IDs. And this combination, along with IoT technologies and other digital India technologies now sweeping the landscape and becoming available, it is creating a slew of new applications, both homegrown apps as well as other applications, which are able to tap into the system and offer products and services across the market. And from this, our satellite technologies, and ISRO has been a pioneer and a leader in satellite technologies across the world. The fact that the space tech area has also opened up, and the government has liberalized in that area and opened the space tech to private startups and private application developers, now gives a unique opportunity of leveraging mapping data, satellite imagery, and other communication technologies like 5G technologies all coming together to create very powerful apps. And it is really a great opportunity for young startup developers and app developers to see how you can leverage these for creating a slew of new applications, whether it is in agriculture, whether it is in healthcare, whether it is in transportation, whether it is in smart cities, whether it's mapping water management across the country. These are all huge opportunities. Look at the, 1 billion people with more than 4,000 small towns and cities and 650,000 villages, and only 8 tier 1 cities catering to lives and livelihoods. Now, that's a clearly unsustainable proposition. But with this coming together of mapping technologies, satellite technologies, communication, and IoT technologies, you now have an ability to zero down and focus and know that what problem exists where and how do we address that problem, whether it is in affordable housing, whether it is in a hospital which needs to be developed, or whether it is a road that has to be laid down, or whether it is a water source which needs to be corrected or purified. This is giving rise to 1,000 new applications possibilities, and that is the exciting world in which the startup developer is in.
All right, sir, those are very important points that you're making. But one of the basic issues, Mayank, is that of regulation of social media. Now, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu on several occasions has said or underscored the need of regulating social media because it is emerging as a platform for promoting hate, for promoting violence. In fact, IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad also said on the floor of the Rajya Sabha that IT companies can do their business, these social media companies can do their business in India, but they have to follow the rules and regulations of India. The basic concern, of course, remains about the violence or misinformation. How will you ensure that your platform is not being misused?
I think that content moderation is a fairly deep and vague subject today. Every kind of mass media goes under some sort of regulation. But if you look at social media, which is where people are voicing their opinion, they have a certain right to the freedom of speech under Article 19 of our Constitution. But that right, there are certain legalities that supersede that right. Right? It's very important for anyone running a social media platform to comply with the laws of the land, right? Like the minister spoke about the need for regulation, the risks that can be caused by unscrupulous elements. They can create havoc across topics, whether it's child abuse, whether it's harassment, whether it's national security. I think there's no doubt that it is very important to abide by the regulations that are set forth to regulate some of these platforms with the objective of maintaining peace and harmony. Right? As a platform, we understand this responsibility. We understand that all kinds of mass media, whether it's newspapers, channels, advertising, they do go under some sort of regulation. We are also doing our bit by democratizing some of these things through community features. We have features where people can report any kind of content with the reason code why they're reporting it. People can, when the creators see that a lot of people are reporting such content, they also understand that they probably posted something that's not gone down well with the rest of the community members. It is not humanly possible to do this entire effort manually because the amount of content is in the millions, right? So it is very important to use machine learning. It's very important to have a good semantic understanding of certain topics and words that are associated with content that we might consider dangerous. So we've built our own proprietary technologies to address some of these things.
All right, Mr. Ramanan, how do we fix this? Bank is raising a very important issue.
I think, it's technology which is going to come to the fore in being able to resolve many of these problems. Just like technology itself creates certain problems, but at the same time, technology has the ability to solve many of these problems. And that is where you have artificial intelligence and software processing and big data analytics, all of these coming to the fore in being able to address many of these challenges, not only from a privacy security point of view, but also from a regulatory point of view. How do you ensure that you use AI, you use big data analytics, and you use cryptography and secure techniques and confidentiality to maintain the confidentiality, to maintain the security, and at the same time to make available a whole lot of services that's going to be beneficial to everybody. So I do think the COVID-19 crisis actually showed many of this Bharat App Innovation Challenge, which was launched in a series of categories, not just in gaming or in it was in health, it was in wellness, it was in education, and so on. More than 6,940 applicants who submitted their full-blown apps. It was not an app which was in the making. These were apps which are already out there, but which didn't have that ability to be showcased to the rest of the country. And I thought that Bharat App Innovation Challenge with MeitY and Niti Aayog collaborating was a watershed moment in our history of revealing the power of startups to address many of these challenges that we see. We finally selected, of course, a few of them, but what was more heartening was that you still have a whole lot of other choices out there, and that is the beauty of the opportunity that is there in India, because the challenges are many. We have, for example, language challenges. How do you ensure that in multiple languages you are able to address all these apps? That's a very important challenge, and anybody who cracks that ability of an app to penetrate across to the most rural parts of our country and be able to communicate with people in their native language, they are going to be winners out there. And that is the sort of potential that we have in a country like ours.
All right, let me take that to Vishal. Vishal, since you're talking about the startups, the Indian startup ecosystem, the transformation that you've seen and the challenges ahead.
So I want to give a recent example of one of our games, 4G. As you know, the PUBG ban happened, and while a lot of gamers were disappointed with it, our vision was to create games around Indian themes and Indian storylines, which we are for sure know China is not going to create those games. So we created a game around the Galwan Valley episode, and 4G, which was announced last year. We started the pre-registration, and it was a record. We had 5 million people pre-registered to download the 4G game. And finally, when we launched the game on 26 January, it had the highest 5 million downloads in 24 hours. So again, from a scale perspective, we have seen unprecedented interest in Atmanirbhar games, stories which our people connect with. In gaming, just give you an example, out of the top 50 gaming apps, only one app, which is Ludo King, is from India. Rest, all the apps are either from China, Korea, or America. And it is sad to see that we don't have game developers creating Indian themed games. And because they just could not compete with the might of all these larger companies who are coming in with their unprecedented marketing power to the market. So for the first time, we took that challenge in gaming, and I'm hoping that more and more people and more developers, and I think what Koo is doing with social media, it is really important. One other point I just wanted to make in addition, that I don't think the issue as much about content moderation is about technology or anything else. The issue clearly is about intent. And a lot of these companies are openly defying court orders and government orders when they are clearly directed and not following the law of the land. So I think the issue around social media, while moderation can happen and there are people who may complain, but at the end of the day, what we are seeing in India and even other parts of the world is unprecedented, where a company like Twitter just does not want to comply with what the court has to order. So I think that is a broader challenge of these companies exercising their power more than they should be. They are not countries of the United Nations. They are just corporations, and they should be following the rule of the law.
All right, you made a very interesting point, Vishal. And adding to that, as you mentioned, 4G. How do we promote our Indian tech industry to develop apps or games centered around India's cultural diversity or strength?
So like I said, right, in India, if you just look at the OTT space, whether it is Netflix, Amazon Prime, it started with all these American shows like Narcos. But today, if you see the top shows, top movies, and Hotstar is a great example of completely Indian content. In fact, their latest top show is The Legend of Hanuman, which is there on Hotstar, and I was proud to see that. Similarly, when it comes to gaming, when it comes to local content, clearly there are a million stories around Indian mythology. There are thousands of stories of Indian soldiers and Indian warriors. If you look at our great history. At the same time, India is the country of so many stories and mysteries. So I think content is just there. And I think what TikTok did, for example, when they came to India, they unlocked the storytelling ability of an average Indian in the smallest city and town. So I think TikTok, for example, did bring that democratization of entertainment. Of course, TikTok has other problems, which I'm thankful to the government to foresee and take action against. But that has suddenly opened up, and I'm sure that we are going to see a lot of innovation around content, storytelling, gaming, everything coming up. And I think what has happened is the floodgates have opened, and apps like Koo and Foji and what we are doing on wearable technology with Goki is a great example of that.
All right, it's also about the strategy that we'll have for the future. Mayank, right now, of course, Government of India has given a very stern message to the giant social media giants across the world about following Indian rules. But once this fizzles out, how do you plan to maintain this momentum?
Well, there are lots of people that stand to gain from our growth. Uh, we're tying up with various news channels where they get access to our users. They are able to showcase the content that Vernacular India is creating every day, and they're able to take that to their viewers. There are lots of celebrities that are joining and will keep uh, connecting with audiences here that they don't find on Twitter. The main reason why we started Koo was because just 10% of our country understands and prefers to speak in English. We are the only country in the world which has the kind of language diversity that we enjoy. We have more than 100 languages. We have more than 50 languages with more than a million speakers. So, whatever we see on Twitter today is actually folks like us who are urban internet users. It hasn't yet penetrated into a good part of India that prefers native languages. So we have a lot of legroom to cover. And I think this entire initiative will not stop at this. It is actually, like Vishal was saying, intent is a very important thing. And I think that the government of India has made its intent very clear that we want to be self reliant and we will not just stop at one or two incidents like these. We're going to make this a theme of our growth.
Absolutely. So it's all about the intent and creating an enabling ecosystem or environment. But before we end this conversation, closing comments from all my guests. Mr. Ramanan, first to you. Future of homegrown tech.
Yeah. So, when we talk of homegrown tech, it is not just app development, but it is a whole lot of tech development that is initiated across the country. And I think the Honorable Prime Minister's Atmanirbhar Bharat call, the Clarion call, has identified the 5 pillars upon which homegrown tech can thrive and grow. The pillar of demographic dividend, we need to educate our entire young demographic dividend, which is 65% of our country under 35 years old. And how do we use education technology, for example? See, at the end of the day, an app is just extending the power of innovation to the remotest parts of the globe. And so if you're able to create other innovations which are going to work along with the app, and they are tech-driven innovations, which is the great opportunity that is there, that is one part. Second is the pillar of infrastructure. How do you address, how do you create 650,000 hubs of innovation and job creation? That can only happen through community-centric or district-centric innovation or community or village-centric innovation. And that is possible. I mean, how do we, for example, use apps and the power of innovation to boost the fishing industry or the tourism industry or the cashew nut industry in Goa or the mining industry there? That's what we have to be looking at. And that's the diversity of need. The third pillar, which talks about the pillar of demand. That's a great opportunity for 1.3 billion people. Just like Mayank said, more than 100 languages, more than 50 of them, have over 1 million speakers. How do you cater to that demand? And then the pillar of socio-economic progress, which needs a whole lot of social innovation and social entrepreneurs and social apps as much as you need economically driven apps. And finally, the pillar of technology, which is becoming affordable, accessible, available, and advanced. So we're able to glue all of this together. Great app development combined with great tech-driven innovation, whether it is IoT or artificial intelligence or sensor technologies or 5G technologies and so on. When you weave them together, the opportunities are endless. And therefore, homegrown tech is here to stay. And it is for our young people to be able to exploit the opportunities that are there and leverage the various policies that Niti Aayog, the government of India, is enabling in the entire ecosystem.
All right, Vishal, opportunities are endless?
Well, opportunities are not only endless. I think that if you look at India, we are now the most favorable destination for investment. Clearly, the world wants to remove its reliance from China, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is any of those things. The world needs to diversify and de risk, and India is the only destination. So I think we have a double opportunity that once we have so many startups and so much innovation, and then we have almost unlimited supply of capital. So I think if the government is smart enough and it can marry smart capital with the smart entrepreneurs of India, I think the problem will take care of itself. So government needs to play an enabling role. Already it has done a fantastic job, and I think if it continues to play the role of a catalyst, I think we will be looking at the 5 trillion economy much faster than even projected.
Mayank, as Vishal said, marrying the smart entrepreneurs with startup or technology or capital. Your closing comments.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Vishal has said. I think that we have the talent, we have the intent, uh, we have the market. It's one of the most exciting markets for any global company to be a part of. We're gonna burgeon to about 800, 850 million internet users. This is going to be double the size of the United States. It's going to be one of the largest internet uh, populations in the world, and this is exciting for everyone to be a part of. We understand this market. The government has clearly made its intent of making us self-reliant. Uh, I think it's always been about access to capital that can enable a lot of great technologies that can solve problems that might be uniquely Indian problems that Indian entrepreneurs have a better idea of, can empathize with more, and have the ability to solve better. So I think, like Vishal said, it's great that the government is playing the role of a catalyst and enabling all these things by removing hurdles that have been existed till now.
All right, so the government is committed to removing all the bottlenecks. We have all the requisites. We just have to realize the potential. On that note, thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. So that's all we had for you in this edition of Reset India. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha Television.